Hey, good morning, everyone. Tim here, sitting on the side porch here at mine and Carolyn's house today. Last couple of days we've got some rain, and so I'm not able to sit further out on the deck. Everything's kind of wet right now, but I want to welcome you guys back. Hope y'all been having good days, and hope you've been working on your love walk and receiving love from people, and most of all, giving love to people, reaching out to them. I think it's so very important that we learn to do that. So I just want to talk to you some more today about the love walk and mine and Carolyn's life, our love story. It was a great day Sunday. We actually had David Barton out at the church. I don't know if some of you guys have never heard about David Barton. He's has a ministry called Wall Builders, which is real good because he goes in and he has a lot of historical things, books and Bibles and speeches and things that happened a long time ago that a lot of people don't have. And he goes to the United States government and talks to them there, and he and gives you what really happened in history. And this past week we talked a lot about the things that's going on about tearing these monuments down and things like that. I wish people would get the real history behind our monuments and things like that, and I think they would have a total different attitude about it and would really learn something from it. So, but again, had a great day Sunday, great time of worship and prayer, and a great meeting, learning about things like that, and kind of where our America is at right now. You know, we get pretty close to the time to vote for a president, and I won't tell you guys how to vote because I want you to vote to the knowledge that you have and knowledge you gain about the ones that are running for office. It's very important that you understand their platforms. You want the platform for the people that you vote for be how you believe and how you want things to happen, and you want to be with those who are having the same ideals, especially the biblical ideals about how things should happen in our world, or actually in the United States. So it's getting pretty close. I hope you guys are registered to vote. So it's a great honor. Actually, it's your duty to do those things. So I hope you will, and I hope you'll find out about the candidates and make a wise selection about it. And like I said, look at the platforms and what they stand for, and you'll get a real insight of how they want to direct or lead or whatever. But anyhow, it's enough about politics. I don't talk much about that. If people ask me, my opinion about things like that and how I believe and see things, then of course I always take time to do that and share with them because that's very important, I think, to do those things. But I want you to understand more about love. I told you I would pray about how to emphasize that better to you, for you to see. I tell you how important love is. Love is, let's look at it as a generator. It generates the things that you need. It generates life for you. It generates the type of feelings that you would want to have, and so it's a great power. And so we have to understand, and I'm not trying to give you a lesson on electricity or anything like that, but we know that when something generates power, like power to our house or whatever, then when you plug in your appliances and things into the wall, the area that you plug them into is only bringing electricity to that point, and that electricity is generated outside at a generating plant or somewhere like that that would give you the power that you need. And it's the same way with love. Love is generated from the inside. We know that great power came from the Lord, and He gives it to us to enjoy and have the benefits of that. And that's the way mine and Carolyn's love and our love walk and our love story is that we drew power off of being in love, that love that generated the life that we have, the great life we have, a perfect life that we have and had. And so I want you to understand how important that love is, and how it is a generator for good things that will happen to you and the things that you need in life. See, you don't want the power being cut off from your house, because you can't have lights, you can't have your air conditioner, you can't have the things that run off with electricity. So therefore, you don't want your love to be cut off, because that generates the power and the things that you need to live this life out and to enjoy this life. Actually, we were born to love. You know, some people would probably question me on that, but the truth is that you were born to love, because you were born out of love. Now, some of you may have been born outside of wedlock or outside of the normal way that God would want things to happen, and that's okay too, because you were still born out of love. God is putting life into you as you came into this world, regardless how you got here. Um, I've heard parents say sometimes that I think it was a mistake that we had so and so. I don't think you ever want to say that, because uh, you may have thought it that way, or someone may have perceived it that way, but you don't want to build that attitude for them to think that way and think they're not worthy, or think they're not wanted or loved. And I know a lot of kids and grown-ups and people in general are not shown love, and so therefore they don't know how to exhibit love. You know, we hear of all these bad things that happen in the world. I was talking to some folks the other day, and they were telling me about some experiences that they went through in life, and how those experiences were bad and everything. You know, and my heart goes out to those folks. I wish I could have been there. I say I wish I could have been there. I wish I could some way had helped them, and helped them to see and to avoid those things that they had to go through life. See what the enemy of life was wanting to do. He wants you to be in a position that he can control you and make your life like he wants it to be. Because remember, we said according to the Bible, it says that the enemy, and we know them, we call him the devil or Satan, that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. If he can steal things from you, then he can kill you in those things, or in those endeavors in life, and then he destroys your legacy. See, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to destroy your legacy. And we know that if you can get to the point, and you can, like I was talking about, as far as our commitment to God, our legacy can keep going on and on and on. But like I said, my heart goes out to people all the time. I see people and I hear stories all the time about the tragedies and things they went through in life, and that's what life intends to do to you, and that's its plan for you. But we know what God's plan is to do you good and not harm. You know, and that's why we want to be in God's covenant, because covenant generations, covenant legacy is passed down from generation to the next generation to the next generation, several generations. You know, and so our problems are passed down as well. We call them generational curses or generational problems. You know, you may have come out of an addictive household, or a divorced parents, or you know, whatever the situation is, and you had a tendency to say in your own mind, well, I hate that, and I'm never going to be that way. But it seems like it's difficult to change that, because now that's ingrained in your mind, and then you begin to act out those things, and then that carries on to the next generation, so forth and so on. I've seen it happen a lot of time in families where there is a divorce. Everyone that's in part of it has had to endure it, whatever, really hate that situation. That they don't want it to ever happen, but it seems like it happens to the next generation, to the next generation, and so forth, so on. So what we're trying to do, talking about love and relationship with God, is to cut that off, so you can have the legacy that God wants you to have, a legacy of blessing, a legacy of love. Remember, God loves you. He'll protect you and He'll provide for you. And that's a legacy that we want for our children. And so, like I said, my heart goes out a lot of times. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that have gone through all kinds of problems, and some of those things could have been headed off if they would have had someone that really loved them and begin to try to look in their lives, or even have discernment. And I think that's very important nowadays, that we can have discernment in life, not only discernment for ourselves and we're in the direction that we need to go in, but discernment for others as well. I'm not talking about dictating someone's life or telling them how to live life and how to do this or how to do that, but just to come along, to be a paraclete, to come alongside and help and avoid those pitfalls in life. Remember, I said that the way that God showed us, Carolyn and I, was that the steps of a righteous person, man or woman, steps of a righteous person is the order of the Lord. And remember, I said He always kept us one step ahead of calamity and danger. And that's what we need to do too, not only to have discernment for ourselves. Again, I'm going to repeat that, having discernment for ourselves, but to have discernment for other people too, to help them through those things. I've had even people tell me that that people were involved in ministries and things like that, and just because you're involved in a ministry and those type of things doesn't mean that these problems and these things won't come towards you. The important thing is to be around someone that loves you enough to be able to talk to you. Sometimes we don't want people's advice about anything, because first of all, we don't understand, or maybe they don't understand where we're coming from when we say those things, and maybe some are coming from a wrong direction or whatever when they begin to talk to people about things. But if you understand and find someone that loves you, like Carolyn and I, and like the Lord that loves you, our advice to you is not to condemn you, not to judge you, not to put you down, but to help you avoid these problems. And so that's what I'm talking about, how you want love. You're born to love, and there's a generator of love that generates and gives the right things that you need for your life. I saw that throughout mine and Carolyn's life, and now we're talking about how we were in Germany and how we were over the Young Marriage Club, and and I thought, well, why are we doing that? We're the youngest one being married here as far as marriage time, but I understand now God was putting us in place of a ministry just like we have now and will continue to have now. Even though I'm separated from Carolyn right now, her being in heaven, I'm being here on earth, we still have the same mission, and we still have the same drive. We still have the same love, not only to our God, but to ourselves, to each other, and to people, and to our family. And we want the very best for you. I know it's hard to believe sometimes that somebody wants something maybe better for you than you want for yourself, because you're not able to see it or not able to feel it. Excuse me. But that's the kind of way, or not kind of, that was the way it was in mine and Carolyn's life, dealing with the different couples and things, how we went and on these trips and enjoyed each other's company. And we were able to talk about if we saw situations or problems. I gave you a list of, last time we talked about, if he loves me, if she loves me, some of the things to look forward to have a better understanding. Does that person really love me? Again, these examples are not to be condemning or to be saying their holy gospel about, does that person love you or not? Maybe that person don't know how. But when you see these things, then you understand that these areas needs to be worked on. you know. And so, like I said, I had been talking to some folks that, that had been going through all kinds of things. And I thought to myself, I wish I could have been around to be able to help them, to be able to speak in their lives. And I think some have known me, known Carolyn and I for 30 or so years and stuff. We didn't know them back at that time. And so there was something that we couldn't help them at that time because we didn't know them. But I'm telling you these things now, so you can avoid these pitfalls and avoid these things that it was created to stumble you up and make you fail in life. And we sure don't want you to fail in life. We want you to succeed in everything. We want you to be totally involved in love that you need in your life, totally involved in your protection, totally involved in your prosperity. And like I said, love generates all these things. The covenant type love that we're talking about generates these things. And too, I had thought about this too when I was talking about that. I'm talking about married couples, but I want to tell you, you can have a perfect marriage outside of being married or ever being married. I'm not saying that that you have to be married to have a perfect life, a perfect love life. And I hope you understand what I'm saying about that. I'm not talking about getting off in all kinds of stuff like that. I'm talking about, your relationship with God. Our true love story, everything comes through God. He is love, and that's it's a powerful thing, in life. And so I will be talking later on to some of those that want to stay single, but they want to have love in their life. Some of those that even at an older age, may I say that, we want to get married or whatever, what to look forward in someone as well. You can look forward to all the things that I have previously talked to you about being intimate, understanding all those areas. Again, getting back, people say, that these things happened to me 30 some odd years, 40 years ago, or 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever, and I can't change that. That's true. You can't change what had happened to you back then, but you can change what is going to happen to you now and in your future. Some of the things that you need to look for. You can have those things. You say, well, Tim, I can't go back. When you and Carolyn were a young couple and did these things to get to the point where you guys were in your life and everything. And I'm not talking about having to go back. I'm talking about getting the now. That's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about God. There's suddenlies in your life. Suddenly, He'll bring those things back to you. The Bible says too, and I don't have the scripture with me right here, but the Bible says that whatever the cankerworm and the palmer worm, and it's talking about things that eat at your things in your life. Those things can be wiped out, and you can gain that back instantly. You can gain it back, but your thinking's got to change, because if you don't think you can change or have the things that I'm talking about, then it's going to be a real struggle. I'm not saying still that you can't have those things. So I'm trying to renew your mind to see through the eyes that I'm seeing you through the eyes of love, that will help you and help generate the power that you need. The beautiful thing about mine and Carolyn's marriage, even as young, when we was first married, and throughout our lives as well, is that love kept generating, giving us life and giving us such favor and giving us such ability to just kind of go through life and not knowing totally what to do, but the love that we had for each other. Love is a partnership. I'm trying to partner with you in love, to tell you about love, to help you love, help you achieve love, and to help you get out of love what God intended for you to have. Like I said, you were born to love, and you were born to be loved. You were, really, you were. Some people say, well, I don't know about that, Tim. I hear this, I see this, all these things are going on. Well, see, that's a lie to you. It's to keep you off course. It keep you off base. It keeps you from experiencing those things. You can't trust what you hear. And so some of these media outlets and things like that. You can't trust that because they're trying to sway you to think the way they want you to think. And so if they can get you thinking that way, then they can control your emotions, they control how you do things. They'll be able to, you know what the Bible calls that? It calls that witchcraft, bewitching. You're being bewitched. You're being, witchcraft is being practiced on you to get you, same way with manipulation. When you try to manipulate someone to think the way that you think, whatever. Manipulation is different than what I'm trying to give you instructions about. I'm trying to show you that I'm trying to not to manipulate you to force you to be that way. I'm giving you instructions to see and to hear and to understand this is what it is for you as well. And see, that's what Carol and I did. We never tried to manipulate each other in anything we did. The love that we had for each other, the love we had for people, the love we eventually would have for our family and friends, it was just simply to give them something so their life would be fulfilled and generated. And so that's the way it was with Carolyn and I. We were over this young marriage group, and we went and did things, and I saw how God was blessing that and how we were able to do things on, we had what we thought was a fixed amount, but we weren't totally fixed in that amount, and God blessed us outside of that. Same way in life for you. You'll have those things. You don't let those things box you in and close you in. So, Carol and I, went on some trips by ourselves and things like that. I showed you at one picture there, we went to the Eiffel Tower there in Paris, and we went to Eder Oberstein, we went to France, we went to Switzerland, we went to a lot of places, and even if you normally think about it, I said, how could you really kind of travel over in Europe and do all these places, or Salisbury, Austria, and all those places like that? How could you go on that fixed amount of money? Well, see, we didn't look at that as being our limitations of what we can do. I want you to not look at where you're at now as that's where you're limited. That's where you stop. There's greater, more limit. There's no limit to what you can achieve and have in this life. And I want to get that through to you, because the enemy wants to manipulate you, hold you down, put you in a box, and say you can't get out of there, you can't do anything outside of that. My job here, if I want to call it that, is more of a mandate. Mine and Carolyn mandate is to love you and show you love and show you how love would generate the power that you need to live a very, very, very successful and overcoming life in this world, regardless of what you hear. Regardless, you hear these things, says, our world is in trouble. This world has been in trouble from the very beginning. But when we can live in this world, the Bible talks about that we're of this world. We live in this world, but we're not of this world. We live in the boundaries of and the confines of this world, but we can live supernaturally above those things. And that's why I'm trying to teach about love. Love is really a supernatural thing, that you can have in your life. So, Carol and I, did a lot of things outside of our group as well. And we were blessed, and God gave us such favor where we went. Remember, I told you a lot of times we'd like to go to towns where outside of our, when I say outside of our area, outside of our little town of Kaiserslautern, because Kaiserslautern was a military town too, because there was a military bases and things like that were there. And a lot of times you would charge a lot more for stuff than you would elsewhere, and so they took advantage of the military there, and so anyhow, Carol and I would go and do different things. So we decided we would get our international license. That was quite a trip, trying to go through the book and look at all the different signs and understand what the directions were and so forth and so on. But we did get our European license, and we were able to drive everywhere. But the only problem is we didn't have a car, because actually a car costs more to have a car than it did, or actually the insurance costs more for the car than the car did. But anyhow, we got our license, and we had bought our first little car. We bought a little Renault car, and it seems like I think that one was probably having some demonic intervention on it. And so anyhow, the car always kept running the battery down, and for some reason, I guess it was some alternator or something on it. It was a little German car. It was pretty small, but Carol and I had so much fun with that. One good thing of working in the 57th Engineer Group, being over that group, being over the USAR training and over the USAR readiness for Europe. We had a depot. They called it a depot, as a shop or whatever. 57 Engineer, and we was always able to get batteries and things like that for our car. So we had fun with that. And we'd always run up against these people who've been in the military a long time, and we usually call them lifers because they were in there for life. And so they had the big cars and everything. And I remember one time, Carol and I went to the PX, the Post Exchange, Base Exchange, Post Exchange Basic BX as well. And that's where you could wash your clothes and buy groceries and all that. So we were there that day, and we got our groceries, and we got back, and our car wouldn't crank. So she said, "What are we gonna do?" I said, "Well, I got this little Tar-2 looking thing that had like a crank, you know, it had a little T at the front of it, and had a hole in the bumper, and of course the motor was in the back, and you could stick that inside there, and she'd turn the key on, and I could get in around it, and I could crank it like a Model T car. I could crank it, flip that thing real quick, and it would flip the engine, and the engine would start. The only thing you had to be very careful was that thing would fly back and break your arm if you wasn't careful what you did. So we got out there, and the car wouldn't crank, and we got all our stuff in there. Well, we got all our stuff in the car, and then the car wouldn't crank. And then so I got out there and did their little crank deal, and cranked it. And right next to us was a Lifers kids, we called them. They were sitting in their big station wagon. Here we were in our little old Renault, and the kid stuck his head out the window and said, "Hey, mister, are you winding your car up?" And I felt like, oh, but I better not do that. No, I'm kidding. So I thought that was real fun. I said, "Yeah, we winded up. Well, that's pretty neat." You know, I said, "Yeah, it's pretty neat." Caroline got off. We got off down the road. Caroline said, "And a bunch of lifer kids. They don't know anything." So we laughed about that and had a good time about it. So we decided we were going to go on our first little excursion to Paris. And like I said, I showed you that picture and everything. And so So we had planned on doing that when a little bit later, and when the weather was starting to get cold and everything, and so anyhow, back to our apartment that we had, we got to be real good friends with the landlord and the landlady, and their family, and I told you that we didn't know at that time, but eventually we found out that their son was like the mayor of that town. So I thought that was pretty neat. We lived in the mayor's parents' house, you know, and so we kind of hit it off with all of them, and God was making things for us, to create things for us in our lives, you know, and so our love for each other, our love for people, and the way we act with people, they started generating the things that you need. So that's why I said that you're born to love. You know, you're born to have love in your life. So anyhow, we met the Seth the gentleman, and he was, like I said, the mayor of the Kaiserslautern, Germany. So everybody was picking at me, "Oh, you know the mayor, yeah," and all that. And I thought, well, he don't seem no different than me, you know, even though he was pretty well up in the political deal in that time. But they had they were so kind to me and Carolyn. They especially loved Carolyn. I wasn't around as much as she was, because she was there a lot of time during the day. And see, about this time, she was, let's see, when was it? August, I guess, September or so. We were getting ready for Carolyn to go to school. We had to get her enrolled in the American high school there in Germany. So anyhow, I'll tell you a story about Carolyn going to high school. But you know, God was showing us favor with it everywhere we went. We did everything on like I said, what a person would say, I fixed them out. We never looked at that. If we didn't have the extra money, we always just asked, Lord, we know that you're providing for us. Remember, I was sending money home to her mom to help her mom. We were paying for that apartment, you know, and we had to pay for the insurance for our little car that we have now. And so we looked at $225 and we said, well, I don't know how that's doing it, but we're okay. So God just kept showing us and kept blessing us through that life, you know. And so one day I was at my office, and I had walked across the street, and I was going over to the finance office over there, and then all of a sudden I heard this Volkswagen beep 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 honking their horn, and all these women were hanging out of the window, said, Tim, Tim, and they were waving. And the guy was with me. You know how GIs are. I said, hey man, you know all those girls, all those women? I said, I don't know any of them. He said, well, they seem to know you. And I said, well, I don't know about that. So we just kept on walking, and then all of a sudden I seen them turn around and they come back up, and they pulled up beside us, and it said, Tim, Tim. And so I got up real close to the window. They were in their little Volkswagen, you know, and I looked in there, and there was Carolyn right in the middle of them back there, sitting in the back seat. And I said, oh, now I know why they know my name. And I said, what are you doing, baby? She said, I don't know. She said, I was at the house, you know, getting everything ready, you know, doing housekeeping and so forth and so on, you know, and all of a sudden Mrs. Schultz came over to me, and the Citroen said, come on and go with us. Come on, you know. And I said, you just got in the car with him? And she said, yeah. I said, well, where are you going? She said, I don't know. I said, well, how long are you going to be? She said, I don't know. I said, well, when are you coming back? She said, I don't know. I guess I'll see you tonight at home. So they sped off and went on, you know. And so later I got home that evening, you know. I was kind of concerned about Carolyn, but I wasn't concerned in the sense that I didn't have fear about it. I knew that we had prayed that day, and you know, God was watching over us. And so I got back home that evening, and sure enough, Carolyn was home, and I said, well, what went on, baby? She said, I had a great time today. I said, you did? I said, what'd you do? She said, yeah, we went out to Anna's summer house. I said, summer house? I said, yeah, they got a summer house, and then they got one up in the hills up there, and they're inviting us out pretty soon. I said, wow, okay. And I said, well, what'd you do? She said, man, we went in this beautiful garden, and they had strawberry plants, they had strawberries, and they had this and they had that, beautiful flowers, and a nice